This might be a weird way to start the video, but I feel like this movie could probably kill an old person. Like if you just took some sweet old lady who's never seen a horror movie before and just propped her up in front of Terrifier 2, like Clockwork Orange style, she's gonna clock out halfway through. Anyway, welcome back everybody. I'm Jake, the Scary Story Guy, and today we are blessed with the return of Art the Clown. That's right, it is finally time to talk about Terrifier 2. This came out a couple years ago to quite a bit of hype and buzz within the horror community. This is the craziest movie ever, people are barfing in the aisles, that sort of thing. But I put off watching it for a long time for a couple of reasons. To begin with, I heard the first one sucked, and I'm not the kind of guy who jumps into a franchise halfway. Second, this movie's like 2.5 hours long, and I'm gonna take a bold stand here. I believe that slasher movies about killer clowns should be shorter than that. A brave statement, I know, but if you agree with me, then please like this video and subscribe to this channel so you can continue to be bowled over by my courage and vitality, frankly. Now, all that said, Terrifier 3 comes out in less than a month, so I knew I had to get rolling. I finally watched the first Terrifier and reviewed it on this channel. People were right about it sucking, by the way. But now I've finally gotten around to the main attraction in the franchise, and I've gotta say, guys, it did not disappoint. Okay, so after the events of the first Terrifier movie, which you do not need to see to enjoy Terrifier 2, by the way, Art the Clown is somehow back alive. I'm not totally clear on how that happened. I don't really even think we're supposed to ask the question. I don't think it's that deep. But yeah, he's alive and killing people on Halloween night. So our story follows a girl named Sienna and her little brother as they encounter Art the Clown during all the holiday festivities. Now, a lot of people, and I do mean a lot of people, are going to hate this movie. So let me begin by anticipating and acknowledging the validity of their complaints. First things first, this is in fact almost 2.5 hours long. What the f***? There's just no reason for it. Every scene drags on too long, just a few too many shots in every single bit. There's a bunch of stuff in the first 45 minutes especially that absolutely should have hit the production room floor. Part of it, of course, is that the director's too indulgent, but I think another part of it is that he's doing his own editing and he's not very good at it. I think maybe the biggest skill an editor needs to have is just being judicious about what to keep, right? A few frames in this shot need to go, this whole bit needs to go. There's a real, I don't know, kill your darlings aspect to editing, and Damien Leone is just incapable of producing it here. And the second complaint I'm anticipating is the acting, which, with two major exceptions, is truly brutal. Sienna's little brother is a pretty tough hang for how much screen time he gets, especially. He's just the most annoying kid, and well, I mean, his neck is so long that his voice should sound like he's trapped in a well. And I swear the director must have just told this kid, like, listen, you're 12, 13, whatever you are, you're gonna act like you're 6. Like, you're gonna say mommy all the time. Speaking of mommy, the mom's performance in this was actually, it sort of became one of my favorite parts of the movie by the end, just because of how, like, shockingly bad every line reading was. Like, she says something and you're just like, there is no way that is the best take you guys got. I don't think she was trying to be funny, but it did start to give that impression. Now, of course, the real thing that's gonna grind people's gears about Terrifier 2, and you saw this in the marketing for the movie, people are puking, people are passing out, is that this is not your grandmother's horror movie. The gore is kind of the point here. If you're going into Terrifier 2 expecting something on the level of like Halloween or Friday the 13th, you're gonna have a bad time. This isn't a mass appeal kind of movie. This isn't The Conjuring or whatever. There's a rare kind of weirdo, a special breed of degenerate, if you will, that this movie was made for. But if you found my channel, then maybe that's you. That, or you're one of my loved ones, in which case, please do not watch Terrifier 2, and I'm sorry I'm such a disappointment. Now, all of that stuff that we just talked about does go into my rating for this movie, but so does this, and get ready, because it's a hot take. Art the Clown is maybe my favorite slasher of all time. He's so unique, such a psycho. Once again, we have a truly masterful performance from David Howard Thornton, who plays a murderous mime like he was born to do it. These movies would be so unenjoyable to watch if Art wasn't just so damn funny. Like, all his little, like, as someone's just screaming in agony. It's chef's kiss perfect. This really does play as a twisted comedy in so many ways. Like, there's one murder scene in particular, maybe halfway through the movie, where you're like, oh shit, that's pretty brutal, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, maybe you pull back a bit, that's a little too far, but then it just goes like 100 light years beyond that, and it becomes funny again, like you realize that it's in on the joke. This is over the top on purpose. It's like that scene in Hot Rod where he's like falling down the hill, just smashing into rocks and trees, and it's funny, but then it stops being funny after a bit, but then the scene just goes on so long that it becomes funny again. Like, that's what happens here. So all I can say is cheers to Art the Clown, the absolute sick bastard that he is, and I am excited to watch Terrifier 3 because of him. I'm also going to throw another somewhat crazy superlative out there, so just try this one on for size. Sienna Shaw is one of the greatest final girls of all time. I thought Lauren LaVera was fantastic in this. And you know, granted, maybe that's because the rest of the cast is just a bunch of theater school flunkouts, so she looks great by comparison. And maybe part of it's the fact that there was nobody even slightly likable in the first Terrifier movie, so you're almost just relieved to have someone to root for here. But she fucking rocked, man. She was like the perfect balance of vulnerable and tough. I feel like it's really tough to strike that balance. Almost every slasher movie seems to err way too far in one direction or the other. She also fights art in this like kick-ass Valkyrie angel costume. I mean, it's for Halloween, so it makes sense, but like, you can tell that the director just loves what he's doing here. He's like framing her so cinematically in every shot, and you just realize like, this is what most other movies like this are missing. The whole last act here actually reminded me of one particular shot in the new Alien Romulus movie, which, by the way, was probably made with about 100 times the budget of this movie. But if you've seen the movie, maybe you know what I'm talking about. There's a moment where the main girl just looks so badass, and it's just because of how the camera is framed. And I thought that a similar attention to detail and like love for the product was displayed here. You can tell the director just had a deep affection for this character. It really came through in everything he was doing. I actually think I read that he spent years and years making this character, and he wanted to do her justice. And so that shone through, but I also think it shone through how that same attention to detail and that same care was not applied to the first movie. Also, this is just an interesting side point. Lauren LaVera sounds exactly like Anya Taylor-Joy, and even looks quite a bit like her from certain angles, so as the movie was going on and on, I was just having a harder time convincing myself that this isn't Anya Taylor-Joy on the screen, which I mean as a compliment. And it turns out this girl's first real job in Hollywood was as Anya Taylor-Joy's stunt double in Split. So what do you know? Anyway, as you can tell, I'm very, very torn on this movie. On the one hand, it's obscenely long and obscenely poorly acted and just obscene to a fault, probably. But on the other hand, it's got as enjoyable a villain as you will find in a movie like this and as sympathetic a final girl as you will find in a movie like this. And the whole thing is just made with a lot more care and affection than the first one. I'm gonna give Terrifier 2 3 stars out of 5, but please don't mistake that for me just feeling kind of meh about this movie. The highs are very, very high and the lows are very, very low indeed, but overall I do come away feeling more positive than negative about this movie. Alright guys, as always, stay tuned for more spooky content coming soon. Terrifier 3 comes out at the beginning of October. In fact, I'm gonna double my content output during the month of October, so we'll see how that goes. But in the meantime, thank you for watching this video, and here's hoping you survive to see the next one.